Hey everyone, welcome back to the Waste World Podcast. My name is Gage Edwards here again with you as always, and today we've got another one. You can consider this like a two-parter, a second part to the Divert episode we had out last week, but today we're looking at the industrial side of wasted food. We're talking technology, infrastructure, logistics, and the future of renewable energy, where all of that meets. So, we've talked a lot on the show about food waste at the retail level, especially last week. But what happens on the back end? The systems that actually process, convert, and scale solutions across entire regions. That's just as important, and that's what we're looking into today. So, from where Divert is making some of these industries' biggest moves, from building state-of-the-art facilities to reshaping how wasted food becomes energy, Divert is redefining what's possible at industrial scale. And today my guest, Andrew, will be here to talk all about that. So I hope you like the episode. And I'll catch you before the break here. If you like the episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, follow us wherever podcast is available, and then rate us, review us, leave us nice things to read, or say nice things about us. Share us with a friend. So anyway, hey, enjoy the episode. Joining me today is Andrew Johnston, Vice President of Industrials at Divert. Andrew brings more than 15 years of commercial, technical, and engineering experience from companies across every stage of growth. At Divert, Andrew oversees the industrial strategy from facility development to logistics to commercialization, helping build the infrastructure behind more sustainable and circular food systems. He brings a rare blend of engineering expertise and market strategy. Andrew, thank you for being here today. Welcome to the Waste World Podcast. How are you?
Gage, I'm very excited to be here. It's been a fun week, but you're catching me in Cambridge, Massachusetts right now. It's 4:05, and unfortunately, it's already getting dark. So I'm sort of navigating that as best I can. But very excited to be here.
That good old in New England, time of year where it's just like, it's just bitter. And you just get to think about, usually, I guess now you're thinking, oh, the Patriots are doing terrible. But now you guys are doing okay. So you're on top of things.
Corner. So, absolutely.
Good for you. We're all happy to see the Patriots doing well again. Awesome. So cool. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's just jump into things. Andrew, I want to know a little bit about you before we get into it. So for people at home who don't know you or your work at Divert, let's jump into that first. Give us a little explanation.
So I think your overview nailed it. So I'm the VP of our industrials business unit. And what that means is that I and my team works with folks kind of across the food value chain, including logistics, terminals, airports, rail yards, food and beverage manufacturers, distributors, and warehouses, stand up food and beverage diversion programs. So what that means is, unfortunately, sometimes foods and beverages can't be sold, can't be donated, and we create ways to help our customers keep that material out of landfill, keep that material out of incineration.
All right. And then for everyone at home, what does industrials really mean within the organization?
Within Divert's context, industrials really means essentially every aspect, every stakeholder across the food value chain that isn't a retail grocery store or a distribution center specifically supporting retail grocery stores.
All right. And I think you seem to be like a good fit for that because you have this multidisciplinary background. How has that helped shape the way you approach the industrial operations you're doing?
It's a great question. I think it enables a handful of things. One is having a little bit more intuition and empathy around the needs of our customer base. A lot of our direct, immediate stakeholders are facilities managers, facilities engineers, operations and logistics folks. And so I think having worked in a lot of these domains historically, we're able to kind of surface their pain points more quickly and stand up and modify our kind of basket of services and solutions to directly meet their needs while also helping them be more sustainable, keep material out of landfill.
Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. And I'd say the other compliment is anaerobic digestion as a means to keep this material out of landfill is kind of like an amazing tool, because it creates a basket of different kind of valuable things from material that has traditionally been treated as waste, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And so exploring all the ways that we can utilize our kind of food diversion and renewable energy facilities, which I imagine we'll speak to a little bit more later on, to support our customer base, has been sort of like a fun kind of hacking engineering exercise over the last year.
Now, if I recall correctly, and I'm so sorry to past podcast guests if I'm getting this wrong, you're the first person I've talked to that has like maybe extensive engineering background. The waste industry must be like a playground for you guys, right? Like you guys like, oh, there's so many issues. Like, we love tinkering and figuring things out. Is that kind of how you see it?
You've nailed it. There's a lot of inefficiency within the waste industry. Some of that is a sort of derivative of like big complex ecosystems are inherently inefficient. There are lots of stakeholders, all of whom might be pulling in different directions because they have like slightly different motivations. And then some of it is also like people kind of just get stuck in old ways of doing things. And so many times when we have the opportunity to speak with a new potential customer or another stakeholder within this ecosystem that we're supporting, like the first half an hour or an hour is just sort of like this incredible discovery exercise where we're surfacing like new kind of inefficiencies and waste that we can avoid, but new ways to kind of like modify their operations, modify like their business practices and like organizational practices in order to kind of make everything flow a little bit better. One area that I'm not going to indulge too much on, but also like when you think about organic material, it's a resource and it's flowing through a network of different facilities that kind of transform it and the like. And so when we start thinking about organic waste as a resource that flows through a network, a lot of the math and a lot of the thinking and like systems engineering behind how we view value within this system is very similar to what we would think for energy. So electricity, for renewable natural gas, for healthcare, and how resources flow through networks all that have capacity constraints and competing kind of priorities and the like. And so when you kind of boil everything down to kind of systems engineering, first principles, how is value created, how is value destroyed, a lot of it's the same math across all these different industries.
Well, I was never much of a math fan, but I'm glad somebody else there is doing it. I got my calculator right here somewhere in my phone. Yes, thank you so much. My math teacher was wrong. Someone else will take care of it. I'm just hitting the buttons over here and looking pretty. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about how Divert is scaling its infrastructure. That footprint seems to be moving pretty quickly at the company. What does it take to build industrial food waste facilities that can truly operate at a national scale?
So I would say first is adherence to first principles. Who are we creating value for, how, why, and then, just how do we keep these big complicated systems working well in context with each environment? And so if you think about one of our integrated, food diversion or renewable energy facilities, they all need to operate well within a local context. And so if we are building a facility, say, in Central California, like our location in Turlock, California, the industry mix that is within like a relevant distance from that facility is going to be different from, say, the facility that we're commissioning at the beginning of next year in Longview, Washington. And so as we look at that market, we need to be very thoughtful about what customers do we approach and when and how, but B, how do we modify slightly, like kind of tweak our plants to have empathy for the kind of material that's being generated in that area? Is there seasonality? Are there big bursts, for instance, say at the end of the year that we need to plan for? And then how do we sort of take our very well established and proofed out sort of standard facility and just modify it around the edges to like meet the local need very well. Beyond that, I would say just a radical level of coordination across our logistics teams, our engineering and operations and commercials teams, so that everyone's looking at the same, view of reality and operating against the same playbook.
Now, what would you say differentiates Divert's processing facilities from traditional food waste or anaerobic digestion sites?
So I would say the scale, certainly.
Yeah.
And then the flexibility of each one of these assets. So each one, I don't know if you have any images that you'd be able to kind of share with your audience, but each one is remarkably well engineered to support a very, very high volume of material each day and very efficiently, while also supporting sort of the full complexity of our industrials customers. So many of our industrial customers require us to provide 24/7 service, to be able to react in a handful of hours to a need that arises on their ends, and then also to kind of meet them where they need us to be in terms of volume and format of the material they'd like to process with it. So be it a pallet or a drum or like a big bulk bag or you name it, where our facilities have been sort of purpose built to kind of just match the need without imposing a lot of cost or brain damage on our customer base.
Cool. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about operational challenges. Now, I imagine hopefully people are listening to this who are from this field or are interested in what Divert's doing. I'm thinking operational challenges that people outside the industry are often overlooking when it comes to processing food waste at scale. Where's your head at there? What are people not getting in the picture?
I think it's very interesting. So if we're speaking to just the processing of material, so it's arrived at our facility and then we need to do something with it, I'd say in context with anaerobic digestion, you can view an anaerobic digester as a living organism. It's like a big stomach, large kind of communities of different types of microbes and bacteria working together. That system requires kind of a steady diet. So both in terms of the amount of material going in, but also the composition of that material. And so while the market can sometimes say, hey, I have an absurd amount of cheese that needs to be processed right now because there was an issue, and Divert, I want you to help me through that issue. We still need to find a way to kind of smooth the flow of cheese into our anaerobic digester in context with all the other kind of customer needs that we're supporting on any given day. And so if you look to the market and you see a lot of volatility, just because, by virtue of where we are, we're at sort of the tail end of very complex global supply chains, like bullwhip is a real thing. We need to find a way to smooth the introduction of material into this biological system in order to keep it working well. And so behind the scenes there's like a very complex set of equations that kind of dictate how and how much material of different types we feed in. And then there's a whole balance of system and engineering to kind of buffer the flow of certain, let's call it macronutrients, into the system in a way that both meets the market need, without any friction, but also kind of like preserves the stability and health of our anaerobic digester.
Now, in my life, extra cheese has never been an issue, but I imagine out in the field, somebody's got too much of it, and they're like, we gotta do something.
That's something that changes with age, or so I'm told. One has too much cheese, but we'll navigate all these things as best we can.
God, I hope not. I gotta hold on to that for as long as I can. Okay. So on the industrial side of things, how do you secure consistent high quality feedstock given the variability of wasted food from different partners and regions?
Yeah. And it's a multi-staged thing. So by virtue of Divert's, 18 years of working in this space, we have two like major assets. One is like a very sophisticated anaerobic digestion system and depackaging system, which your audience is likely familiar with, but also a very deep and kind of broad relationship with our like traditional grocery partners. And so that foundation allows us to have like a pretty steady, reliable diet of mixed grocery material flowing to each one of our digesters. And then from an industrials business unit perspective, we have the ability to take advantage of any remaining capacity as a complement to both that feedstock as well as, our book of business. And so sort of the method there is to kind of look at how much capacity I have at each location, and how much capacity I wish I had at each location, and then looking at our at this point like quite sophisticated market intelligence database that has a comprehensive view of like all of the logistics concerns, all the manufacturers, all the distributors, the warehouses, and the connections in between them. And we can say, all right, given where, we want to be in 3 or 6 months in terms of feedstock flowing in and kind of like where we can push the limits, how are we going to, have conversations in the marketplace? With whom are we going to, seek to, divert material from landfill? And we have to do that sort of with commercial and sales activities in lockstep with engineering and operations so that we continuously maintain that balance. And then once we get to 5 or 10% of our capacity to kind of play around with, we can be a little bit more whimsical and be like, what, actually, this week it's going to be confection to kind of abstract a little bit, or this week it's going to be bananas. And like we can handle those big swings and just kind of play around on the edges there.
Cool. All right. Mm-hmm. Shifting gears a little bit to commercial strategy partnerships. You guys work with a wide mix of partners like retailers, haulers, municipalities, energy buyers, right? What makes a strong industrial partner to you? And what does that look like when you're expanding into a new market? What does Divert look for?
So as we're, to whatever degree we can be picky, or, we say like, hey, who's a good partner or not, I would say,
feel free to call out bad partners,
there sometimes there isn't a match for any number of different reasons. And I'd say the things that we look out for are folks who are interested in our mission, see value in what we're doing from a sustainability and impact perspective, as well as, have a good sense of their own operations and processes and can kind of see, here's where you can fit in, and can be sort of a dance partner to that conversation. And I think I heard the term or the phrase like play lightly with ideas around like how they could potentially tweak their operations or allow us to kind of tweak our operations to kind of meet their needs along the way. And so I'd say, interest and dedication to sustainability, good sense for their own operations, their own data, or game to have us help them kind of run that discovery process. And then if I'm being highly like I'm over optimizing a little bit, it would be folks that have like quasi consistent waste streams, like flows of material that can't be sold or donated. And I'd offer, we're here to support everyone, kind of irrespective of what their needs may be. But, if we had customer A who has no material that requires processing for 11 months out of the year and then 10,000 tons in December, which, we do have some customers who have that need, versus customer B who is, steady Eddie, on balance, I would favor, steady Eddie, just from a like complexity of support and operations perspective.
Does it help if these customers are in warm weather locations? You're just trying to get out there, get away from Massachusetts a little bit.
Oh, it'd be nice. I mean, I've been going out to California as recently as last week, and we have, I think, California. Whenever I'm out there, they're suffering from, I think was it the atmospheric river or something along those lines. So like right now, it's just been raining for 2 weeks. But actually, there's a little nuance there as well. So like a number of our customers transport and distribute frozen foods. Mm-hmm. And so while on balance, our system is able to process frozen vegetables and fruits, without any issue. If somebody comes to us and says, I have a 250-pound block of frozen, I don't know what it would be, butter, like we have to be thoughtful about how we kind of handle that so it can be processed in our system without spending days thawing. So
All
warmer
right.
weather is on balance a little bit better than colder for that.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody wants to send me to warm weather places, I'm down to go anytime. All right.
Me as well.
The output side of things, whether
Mm.
it's RNG, recovered materials, other end products, how is the demand changing and what economic forces are shaping the future of the wasted food infrastructure?
Interesting. So this is a little bit, I'll be a little bit out over my skis on
Sure.
this front. And so, by virtue of our offtake partners, like our renewable natural gas kind of pathways are de-risked for us. So, like, fortunately, right now there are a lot of dynamics in the marketplace. Like, we can be very kind of long-term focused from that perspective. In terms of our, I'd say our soil amendments, we have a solid soil amendment and a liquid soil amendment, sort of fertilizer. We're finding actually over the last 6 months, 9 months, a kind of remarkable uptick in our customer base actually being interested in those materials. And so many of our customers operate across, say, farms, so growing food production as well as distribution, and they have holistic sustainability programs that can loop in a lot of their farmer partners, and they're interested in sort of these kind of multifaceted partnerships. And so I anticipate, maybe not by the end of this year, but certainly in the first quarter of next year, we'll have some interesting announcements to that end.
Well, I can't wait for that. And I guess looking ahead, we'll stay in that lane there.
Mm.
Next 5 to 10 years, what do you think the industrial landscape for wasted food looks like, and where does Divert want to lead the way?
Ooh, fantastic. So I think we'll continue to see, I think, value engineering within production, distribution, and warehousing in the form of further automation and efficiency. I think that the market has been rocked by a fair amount of volatility, over the last 5+ years, and I can see a lot of our customer partners investing in those themes just to simplify their operations, gain like additional cost efficiencies and the like. And I think that they'll continue to look to their vendors, so folks like me, to kind of peer with them on that. So I'll be thought partners around like how they can achieve not just operating efficiencies, but capital efficiencies as well by kind of relying on our capital, for instance. And so, for instance, right now we have dozens of conversations kind of at various levels of maturity with prospective customers and existing customers around that ask the question of like, hey, I'm a food manufacturer or distributor, wherever it may be. I'd like to avoid this X dollars worth of capital costs right now. And the way that I can do that is by working with Divert in such and such a way. And it's really exciting to see that because one is we're interested in long-term partnerships with our customers. And two, we are supporting the efficiency, overall capital efficiency and operating efficiency of all the markets that we're serving. The other key theme is that, and I use the term radical integration early in our conversation. And I think that as we build out more and more of our facilities, things get really fun when you have a network of different locations that can serve not just certain regions of states or full states or multiple states at a time, but answer needs that cross the entire country. And I think you see early versions of this with our existing kind of retail programs where we're supporting some of our customers across the entire country. I anticipate that we'll be able to do that for many of our like public distribution and warehousing and manufacturing customers as well, both for steady state operations as well as some of these very acute needs that we've been seeing in the marketplace recently.
Well, there you go. Everybody forward looking. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're expecting. Andrew, that is the end of my questions there. Anything we didn't go over so far that you want to throw at me and we get on the table here?
No, I think you hit on all of the very nerdy kind of topics that I like to indulge in talking about. So thank you for the opportunity to do that. I'd say just as a sign off, I'm very easy to get in touch with. So if anything that I said kind of resonates with your audience's needs at the moment or what they anticipate over the next year, please do reach out. And I'd love to have the chance to just kind of play lightly with ideas.
Sure. And that was kind of where I was going next. So if people want to find out more about what you're doing and maybe connect with you yourself, what's the best way to get in contact or learn more about Divert?
So I'd say the easiest would be to go to our website, which is divertinc.com. And I think there's a button on the top right or the bottom right. You just click on that and just shoot us a quick email. It shows up in my inbox, and I'd be happy to reach out.
A direct line, everybody. Well, Andrew, I appreciate you coming onto the Waste World podcast with me. I look forward to the other announcements from the company coming up soon. Very exciting stuff. And of course, things are always changing. So I'm always excited for brand new things. Andrew, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Gage. I appreciate the opportunity. Take care. Bye.
All right, that brings us to the end of that conversation. I'll shout out Andrew again. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us today on the Waste World podcast. Thank you for explaining to everybody what's going on your side of the things at Divert. And that kind of wraps up our two-parter for Divert this month. A lot of good stuff out there. A lot of good things going on at Divert. So make sure you hear both of those episodes to kind of get a full scope of redefining wasted food between retail and industrial parts of the world, infrastructure. Make sure you got it. Kind of lost my words there for a second, but don't worry, I'm still talking. If you enjoyed the episode, like I said earlier in the episode, rate us, review us, find us, follow us, share us with a friend. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, other podcasting services, wherever your preference is to find podcasts or media like this, you will find the Waste World podcast. And in those places, you should be clicking that like button, that review button, the 5-star button. Leave us comments. Let us know what you think. Head over to waste360.com to read more about the waste and recycling industry and check out other waste podcasts, the other episodes of the Waste World podcast. There's only the one there. So check it out. Stay tuned. And then I know Christmas is coming up. So we're going to have a different schedule. I don't know what the next couple episodes will look like. We have a few that we're talking about recording that I'm planning now. Some of these might just be me talking about the top stories that we've had this year. We'll see what that turns into. Don't quote me on that. Don't come back to this episode and be like, well, you said. I'm saying it could happen. It could not happen. Who knows? I don't know yet. We're still planning that out. So until then, again, check us out. Watch more episodes. Share us with a friend. And remember, it's our world. Let's not waste it.